This homebrewing challenge features two stylistically different mead makers. They will swap this mead at every step of the process with no information to go on. This is Mead Swap.
So this is the final product.
Yep.
I don't know what, I know some of what I'm tasting, but I don't know what I'm tasting.
So let's just taste it first.
Start out.
And then we can talk.
Okay. It's kind of unnerving. It's kind of like when a subscriber gives you a murky bottle of mead and says, "What do you think?"
I hope that this isn't poison. Both going down if so.
That's
Here
true.
we go.
Okay. Smells like mead.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
It's I'm not dead. I'm still here. It to me it has a really and of course we're gonna break down what happened, but there's a lot of like spice. I get a lot of like cinnamony baking spice idea.
Cinnamon, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Let me dive into this. It's actually a lovely still mead.
Yeah.
It's.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I mean,
I like this a lot.
I think if
I don't pick up cinnamon.
Really?
No.
Maybe it's a spice. I don't know. A lot of times when I think of spice, my brain goes to cinnamon because I use so much cinnamon that's probably.
It does have like a warming, like a little bit of a, like a hug.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's got a nice warm hug to it, but I wouldn't call it like cinnamon or clove or any of that. But it does have a warmth to it while not being hot.
Right.
There's not like an alcohol burn to this, but I think this was lower ABV if I recall.
It is. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I didn't start because I wanted to have extra honey at the end, so I made sure to not use all of what was given to me.
This is nice. It's round. The acid is well balanced. Like I could maybe use a little bit more tannin, but I don't feel like it's flabby.
Mm-mm. I was a little worried when I started it off at such a low ABV possibility that it would be flabby.
Yeah.
But when you returned it to me, I was like, okay, something has happened in between then, so we're gonna find out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't recall what it tastes like. We talked about this before. We should have had some bottles at each stage so that we could say,
like a vertical tasting.
Yeah. So maybe next time.
I'm with you on that. Okay, so we know what it tastes like.
You want to go backwards in time a little bit?
I think we should rewind and see what was done during this mead swap.
All right, to start off this mead swap, BC gave me this honey. He gave me 2 pounds of the mystery honey. I have no idea what it is here. And I tasted it. It tasted like a creamed or whipped kind of honey that had some cinnamon or something in it. It's very spice-esque. I was picking up notes of cinnamon and of baking spices just on the honey itself. Now, my goal is going to be to make something great out of it. I am using some QA23 that I harvested from a Meadow Foam traditional mead because I think it will pull out some of those marshmallowy kind of cotton candy tastes that you have in a Meadow Foam mead. So I'm going to mix that up. My starting recipe is this right here, and the starting gravity is right here as well. So we're going to let this go through the primary, and then he's going to return it back, and we're going to see where we go from here.
Huh. Wonder who that could be. Oh, hey, BC.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, I got something for you. She's been a bit fussy, a little bit temperamental, but
Yeah?
she's yours now.
She looks like the type.
Good luck.
I got it from here.
So I brought the mead back to my house and took a sniff and took a hydrometer reading. It was at 1.000, completely dry.
It smells like mead, so that's a good sign.
Had myself a taste.
There's a mild acidity, not a lot of honey flavor. It's a delicate flavor overall. There's a kind of weak mouthfeel on it. It's kind of watery, kind of flabby. Really curious what he clearly didn't use all the honey because this is 1.050, so it's a low gravity I'm gonna have to think a little bit about how I want to balance this, but how to do so in a way that will keep him guessing.
So I decided to infuse this with instant coffee and ground sumac. Sumac is a little red berry that grows native in Oklahoma, and it's got a very peppery and lemony kind of flavor to it. If you look around YouTube, you can actually find a lot of recipes where people make pink lemonade just using water, sugar, and ground sumac. So I mixed that all up in some boiling water and added it to the carboy. And immediately the sumac started releasing some of those real lemony aromas. Gave it a swirl, and I let it sit for about a week. A week later, I took a taste, and it still wasn't quite there, so I doubled my quantities of both the coffee and the sumac. I gave that another gentle swirl, and then I allowed that to sit for another week. And after that 2-week period, the flavors had been introduced in a really nice and delicate way. So I wrapped my racking cane in some sanitized cheesecloth to prevent the sumac from getting through, and I racked that off into another 1-gallon jug and passed it back to Man-Made Mead.
And BC has brought the mead back to me. Here I am doing a quick taste test. I found this mead, after he returned it to me, to be even spicier than before. Not in a heat way, but rather in a more baking spice fashion. He added something that made it feel more fuller bodied, for one, but also had some extra spices. So my goal now is going to be to back sweeten, because it needs to be back sweetened, and actually add a banana. We're adding the banana for clarity's sake, to try and help clear it up, but also to possibly round out the body even more. So that's what I'm doing here. You can see that I am just adding this banana in, and then I am going to take it off in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So now I've taken the banana out of the mead, and we're going to take it back to BC's and see what he did ultimately.
Tasting the honey, I was very convinced, having done something with whipped honey before, that this was a whipped or creamed honey of some sort. So I don't know.
Is that your final answer?
That's my answer I've got. That's the one I've got.
I have no idea if it was whipped, but I don't think it was.
What was it?
This was manuka honey,
Okay.
one of the most expensive honeys in the world.
Plus
No,
50 cents.
But I really wanted to pick a honey that I felt like you probably hadn't brewed with before.
I haven't.
Because who would? And I wanted to pick something that I hadn't ever tasted.
Yeah.
And so
Did you taste it before you gave it to me?
I tasted it at your house the night I gave it to you. And I had stripped the label, so you had no clue what was in it.
I thought it was creamed honey or whipped honey because of the consistency of it. I don't know if you ever used it before.
Was
thicker.
thick?
It also had granule-like properties to me that reminded me of my experience with that. So I thought that, and then I still get some spice. And so the honey I'd used that was whipped that one time was whipped with cinnamon. And so then my head, I was thinking, okay, this is...
You've built that into...
Yeah, which is probably not great. Don't get those things stuck in your head. Okay, so that's the honey.
So I gave you manuka honey.
Here's what I did. I had finished a meadow foam traditional mead with Lauben QA23.
Okay.
And so my thought was, if I reuse the yeast from the QA23, am I going to get some more bright marshmallow, cotton candy notes? And so I pitched that yeast after washing it into that starting brew.
Okay.
So that's all I did.
That's all you did.
That is literally all I did.
Brewed it as a lower ABV traditional.
Yeah, I didn't want to go too far, because if you were going to do something, I didn't want to throw 8 different things in, because then we run out of options. So that's what I did. I honestly don't remember what it tastes like after the primary. I don't think I did a great job of tasting. It just
tasted like mead.
Yeah.
When you gave it to me, it tasted like a mead that just came out of primary, and I couldn't identify anything really interesting about it, which is why I wondered if you were just like throwing me off by throwing EC1118 in there and then just.
Technically I did, but the meadow foam I don't think is really done at the
I didn't
esters
pick up any of that. No, it was a blank canvas basically, and so I knew that you probably had no idea what honey you were using.
Yeah.
And so I also wanted to add a couple of ingredients that I knew would give it a character, but that you probably wouldn't be able to identify.
Yeah.
So I added 2 things, and I ended up having to add them twice because the first time I added, not enough came through. So I opened it back up and I put a little bit more in. I added a spice, and I added something else.
Is it a baking spice? Is it a commonly used baking spice? Is that the ester I'm getting? Or not the ester, but the flavor profile?
No. One of the things I added was instant coffee. I added just a couple teaspoons of instant coffee.
That could maybe pick up acidity, but I don't think I got any actual profile.
I didn't want it to be a coffee forward brew at all, but I wanted you to go, there's something a little heavy or roasty or dense, something going on in the tannin profile.
I noticed the tannin change. I would not have said roasty. I would not have characterized it as anything but
I was really worried about going too hard on instant coffee. I think in the whole batch there were like 2 teaspoons or something.
I'm trying to search for it now.
I wanted it to just, you know how sometimes folks will use tea to provide tannin?
Yeah.
I wanted to use the instant coffee to just provide that like wholeness that I felt like it was missing. And I've never used coffee in that way before.
Interesting.
But I think it worked.
Now, I don't have the perfect palate, so there's
I mean,
a
I don't
high
either.
likelihood that I just missed the mark.
But you feel like you picked up a little acidity in there, yeah?
Yeah, I definitely got. That's what I mean. Is after that primary and you brought it back, I noticed. I was like, this feels different, and I honestly didn't know what you did.
So coffee is what's in there that's providing that round body on the tongue.
Okay.
The other thing that I added was a spice native to Oklahoma that you've probably never used even in cooking.
Okay.
Are you familiar with sumac berries?
No idea. Never even heard of it.
So sumac is a plant that grows in Oklahoma, but it grows kind of all around this region. And it's got these little red berries. And when you grind them up, they taste like lemons. It's like a citrusy, zesty kind of spice. And so you'll usually use them for like chicken dishes or quail, stuff like that. Or some people use them to make pink lemonade. And so my thought was...
Oh my gosh. You have no idea how funny. Literally my thought, pre my freezer dying, I had bought pink lemonade concentrate and I was going to put it in secondary.
That's funny.
But then I thought about, I was like, well, maybe there's a good chance that won't go with what he comes back with. So I mixed it.
That's funny. Okay. Well, I mean, you sort of got pink lemonade.
The berry idea, in that acidity, getting that acidity on the palate, I do get a fruity character from this, and I think I feel that from the berry you're talking about.
Yeah. So sumac, they sell it ground up as a powder. And when you delivered me this blank canvas, I kind of just went ferreting around, like, what can I throw in there? And sumac seemed like a no-brainer.
Well, I think it works well. Those 2 combinations, I would not have expected the coffee, but I do think the coffee added a lot of tannic value, actually, like you were talking about, and then the acidity, which did brighten it up without having to put in acid blend, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, that's something I've never heard of, so that's interesting. I definitely would not have got that.
No,
but
that was a little bit of a throwing you a curveball.
Well, came back to my place. I back sweetened it with, I think, like 2 or 3 ounces of that honey, just a small amount. And I threw a banana in. Just
interesting.
Not because I believed that it was going to drastically change mouthfeel.
Now let me get back in here.
I was wondering if, one, it would provide a little bit of that fruitiness to it, but also maybe clarify it. Hence, a video that is not
How'd that
out
work
yet.
out?
Well, also was a little wild ride getting over here. So it was definitely not clear. Banana did not do what I wanted.
Now that you say that, and it could be just like placebo effect, but if you really inhale the nose on this, there's a little bit of like banana peels aroma in there. I don't think I really pick it up.
No, that's one of those like you wouldn't get unless, again, I told you. So I think you should throw up the recipe right here.
Yeah.
And just, here's the recipe for if you want to make this.
I do like the idea of doing a vertical tasting next time. I think that's key to understanding the journey a little bit better. But
I think we should do one again.
I agree.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
as always, for this collaboration. And the next time, we'll change it up. Maybe I'll start it. You can follow Man-Made Mead. You know, you probably already do. But if not, his information will be right here, and you know where to find us as well. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
This is great.